Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. Ever thought about how you build a whole country? And I don't mean with bricks and cement, but with rules, with huge ideas, and with a shared dream for millions and millions of people. Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to explore, the amazing story of how India's constitution was made.
Hello my dear bachcho, I know exams are right around the corner, but hey, tension nahi lene ka. Seriously, don't worry. This chapter might seem a little heavy, but trust me, we're going to crack it together. And by the end of this, you won't just know the facts, you'll feel the story behind it. So chalo, let's get started.
All right, so to really get this, we need to travel back in time. Just imagine. The year is 1947. Think about the feelings. On one side, there's so much happiness, right? We are finally free. But at the very same time, there was this incredible pain. Our country was being divided. It was a time of so much chaos, so much sadness.
So can you just imagine the challenge? Right in the middle of all that chaos, our great leaders had this giant of a task. They had to create a single rule book, our Constitution, for a family as big and as diverse as India. I mean, so many languages, so many religions. How in the world did they do it? Chalo, let's find out.
So let's meet the architects. You know, every big building needs a great team of architects and engineers, doesn't it? Well, for the Grand House of India, that team was the Constitutional Assembly. You can think of them as the super team who had the most important job in our entire history.
And this wasn't some small group, okay? We're talking about almost 300 people. The best and brightest minds from all over India, all in one room. Can you just picture it? For nearly 3 years, they sat together. They debated, they argued, and yes, sometimes they disagreed. But in the end, they worked together to build the India we live in today.
Now, in this huge team, there were some key players. Let's start with Jawaharlal Nehru. You can think of him as the one who created the vision, the main blueprint for our new house. He presented something called the Objectives Resolution, which was basically the soul, the master plan of what our country was going to be.
And then you had Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, if Nehru was the visionary with the big ideas, Patel was the practical doer, the guy working day and night behind the scenes to make it all happen. His job was massive. He had to unite everyone, and I mean everyone, including all the different princely states. He was the great unifier for sure.
And of course, we have to talk about the chief architect himself, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was the chairman of the drafting committee, so basically, he was the one who actually wrote it all down, shaping every single word with his deep knowledge of law and society. These leaders, and so many others, were really the guiding lights of the whole process.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that blueprint we mentioned. You know, you can't build anything without a proper plan, right? Well, for our Constitution, that blueprint was Nehru's Objectives Resolution. And believe me, it was more than just a piece of paper. It was a promise to every single citizen of India.
So what exactly was this promise? Well, it promised that India would be an independent, sovereign republic, meaning we are our own masters. It promised justice, equality, and liberty for everyone, no exceptions. And this is so important. It made a special promise to protect and support minorities and other backward classes. This was the heart and soul of our new nation.
All right, so the blueprint was ready, but now comes the fun part, designing the rooms. I mean, when you build a house, you have to discuss everything, right? How big will the kitchen be? Where will the main door go? Well, our leaders had some huge debates about the most important rooms in the House of India. Let's check out 3 of the biggest debates they had. Okay, topic number 1 was this thing called separate electorates. Now, what does that mean? It's actually pretty simple. It meant that to elect a Muslim leader, only Muslim people could vote. This was a system the British had introduced, and now the big question was, should a free India keep this system? And wow, this was a hot debate. On one side, you had people like B. Pakar Bahadur. He argued that this was the only way to make sure that minorities had a real voice. But on the other side, many nationalists, like Sardar Patel, strongly disagreed. They felt it was a trick by the British to keep us divided. In fact, Patel even called it a poison that had led to the tragedy of partition. Just listen to Sardar Patel's words here. The British element is gone, but they have left the mischief behind. We do not want to perpetuate that mischief. So powerful, right? He was basically saying that we can't continue this legacy of division. And in the end, that's what the Assembly decided. They chose unity. They decided we would all be one family voting together.
Okay, on to the next big debate. Who gets to be the boss? Should we have a really strong central government in Delhi, or should the individual states have more power? This was a massive question about how our country should be structured.
And the solution they came up with was just brilliant. They created 3 lists. First, a union list with things only the center could control, like defense. Second, a state list for the states, like local police. And third, a concurrent list for things they could both work on, like education. But, remembering the pain of partition, they tilted the balance a little. They made the center just a bit stronger to make sure the country always stayed united.
And now, for what was probably the most emotional debate of all. Think about it. In a family as big as India, with hundreds of different languages, what language should everyone speak? The question of a national language was a huge deal, full of passion, pride, and also a lot of fear.
Mahatma Gandhi had a really beautiful idea. He believed in Hindustani, not a very difficult Sanskrit-heavy Hindi or a Persian-heavy Urdu, but a simple language that everyone could understand. For him, it wasn't just about communication, it was about bringing people together.
But inside the assembly, oh boy, the debate was intense. On one side, you had passionate supporters of Hindi, like R.V. Dulekar, who wanted it to be the national language right away. But this created a lot of fear, especially for members from the South. They were worried that their own beautiful, powerful languages would be ignored or even wiped out.
So what happened? Well, once again, our leaders found a compromise, a middle path. They decided that Hindi would be the official language, not the national language. See the difference? And they said English could continue for some time, and every state was free to do its work in its own regional language. It was a wonderful solution that respected everyone.
And so, after all that work, almost 3 years of debates, arguments, compromises, and so much effort, the House was finally ready. India's constitution was complete.
So, let's just do a quick recap of the timeline. The whole journey began in December 1946. The final document was signed in November 1949, and it officially came into effect on January 26, 1950, which is of course the day we celebrate as Republic Day every year.
Okay, my dear bacho, get ready. Time to take a screenshot of this slide. These are your exam super points. Just remember these key things. It's the longest written constitution in the world. It gave every single adult the right to vote, right from the very beginning, which was a huge deal. It created a secular country and, so importantly, it abolished the terrible practice of untouchability. These are the main takeaways, okay?
And I'll leave you with a little something to think about. Remember the difficult times of partition that we talked about at the start? Now think about the decision to create a strong central government. Why do you think that was so important for India, especially right after partition? Just mull that over. I really hope this helps you understand the amazing story behind our Constitution. All the best for your exams. You're going to do great.